Well, long before the Turtles did it, He-Man did it. And I'm talking about ninjas. Okay, so, ninjas are I guess, motif in action figure lines and boys' play. And when Skeletor called upon a ninja to join his ranks, well, this was a chance to expand on the motifs that MOTU has always done. You got your gadget guy and your sky guy and your sea guy and your jungle guy. Well, now you have your ninja guy. Okay, the thing about Masters of the Universe is there's a lot of shared parts and a lot of shared tooling. It's part of what makes the line unique and what makes it fun to collect. And it's also what allowed so many characters to be created. In 1987, when MOTU was kind of, hitting its peak but on its way out, a wave was introduced that was a mix of fully tooled figures, like some of the Snake Men, and almost zero tooled figures. So this included characters like Scareglow, Clamp Champ, King Randor, and Ninjor. They were all done at the request of retail to rush to market a new wave of figures in order to get more product out. Although it turned out what retail was actually asking Mattel for was more of the A-list characters like He-Man, Skeletor, and Man-at-Arms, and instead Mattel offered up this wave. So it's odd because you can tell it's a late offering, but it used basic parts. So Ninjor is just Skeletor's body, more or less, painted black. And he's given a soft goods cloak and extra accessories to plus him up with a newly tooled head, and that's it. So very few parts rush to market wave, along with characters like Scareglow and King Randor. Again, he used, parts like using Jitsu's armor, which we're going to actually be talking about Jitsu in a few minutes. So yes, so that was sort of the birth of Ninjor. He was given glowing red eyes and the spiky feet to make sure it was clear he was a bad guy. And as I said, he was kind of similar to Jitsu in the sense that he was the second Asian character ever introduced in the Masters of the Universe world. And despite what many fans think, he is not just Jitsu with a soft goods mask and wrap on. It's a completely different sculpt under there. The head is completely different. Usually most people never take off the mask, and a lot of fans over the years have just assumed it was Jitsu's head under there. So updating Ninjor into Masters of the Universe Classic, like with all the figures, presented its unique array of situations, shall we say, to be overcome. Looking at the original figure, obviously this was going to be a pretty easy translation since, as I said, for a late figure, meaning 87 compared to 82, he did not have that many unique parts. One of the issues, though, that we had, not tooling-wise, was naming. So the character everyone knows is Ninjor, but unfortunately, the way toys work is the name was no longer available because Power Rangers had introduced a character named Ninjor and had done quite a few action figures since the original Ninjor was released. The way it works is you have to kind of show proof of use to keep a name. A lot of times, that's actually exactly why we were putting names on the white shipper boxes, was to preserve those names for future use. But because we weren't doing that at the time that Power Rangers from Bandai offered this Ninjor figure, or multiple Ninjor figures, Mattel lost out on the rights to the name. Same thing happened with Fisto from the 2000X line. He became Battle Fist, or Ratlore becoming the General. Toy companies often pick up other copyrights, so Ninjor had to become Ninja Warrior. The reason we went with such a generic name was specifically because we didn't want to say, hey, this is not Ninjor. And also playing on the whole concept of, evil, ninja of Skeletor, the way Scareglow is the evil ghost of Skeletor, or Fakor, the evil robot of Skeletor. It was not actually Skeletor as a robot. This was a ninja serving Skeletor. So, yes, that's Head's Ninja Warrior, made sure that obviously it was sort of communicating to the fans that, yes, we know this is Ninjor. We just can't call him that. We didn't want to create a whole new name for him. We wanted people to know this was Ninjor, so that's why the generic name wound up on package. But you can still call him Ninjor. All right, so as far as, again, his connection to Jitsu, there is something that specific to the Classics release that should be talked about, and that's their belt. Okay, well, not the belt that they're not wearing here, but in the 2000X line, where characters were sort of reimagined in what I always call that hyper-anime style, with the Horsemen adding lots of added details, and characters, like Fisto as an example, received a belt that was bigger, and we included this with the Masters of the Universe Classics figure as an optional piece that you could snap on to give him more of a 2000X look without actually doing a full 2000X version of the figure. So we wanted to do the same thing for Jitsu, but we couldn't afford the belt because at the time it wouldn't fit in the tooling budget. So what we did is we tooled it with Ninjor, and it was specifically done so it would kind of work with either figure. But it's absolutely Jitsu's belt. If you look at the 2000X Staction figure that the Horseman put out, you could clearly tell where this was picked up from. Although he never appeared in the animation or the comic book. Maybe he was in the comic? I don't know. But he wore, a big rope belt that added to his hyper anime look. And we wanted to include that since we couldn't, but we had a little extra tooling available with Ninjor, or Ninja Warrior. So we tooled up the belt that was included with Ninjor, but it really was intended to be used for Jitsu, similar to how, Strobo came with an extra head for Zodak. So I really loved that about MOTUC Classics. I think it's honestly one of the coolest things about the line is that we can release accessories with other figures that were intended to backfill previous figures that if we couldn't afford something. Again, like Rattler's vest or Zodak's unmasked head that came with Strobo. So the rope belt totally would work with Ninjor, and it's legitimate, but really if you were going to get down to it and talk to the Horseman or myself or Bill, the designer, it was meant for Jitsu. It was not meant for Ninjor, just like, that extra head for Zodak that came with Strobo wasn't meant for Strobo. Another version of Jitsu was released in the animation style, but of course this was going to pull even farther from the hyper anime detail and be more simplistic. There was another ninja plan, which eventually became Slamurai, which Samurai don't dress as ninja, so I don't understand why he was called Slamurai when he's a ninja. Samurai and ninja are different things, but it was a character created for the 87 line of kit bashed parts. Unfortunately, it never shipped in the vintage line, but because of classics and PowerCon, a modern figure was made. So yeah, ninjas, kids, it works. It's a motif. It's like firemen, police, cowboys, spacemen. There's just something very motif aspirational about ninjas, and it works so well to include that in the line because MOTU is all about kind of inclusion. Everybody has a place, whether you're a robotic elephant or a giant, purple Deadpool ripoff. So with the Skeletor / Cobra Khan boots and hands and the spiky feet, those beady red eyes, he became the very last of Skeletor's main crew released in the Classics line. So you now had a full set of Skeletor's goons, and you were ready to battle for the fate of Eternia with the power of a ninja warrior. TM and copyright on that.